LearnBiz LLC is an entrepreneur coaching agency which customizes solutions to help businesses grow and thrive in an ever-changing economy.
You are listening to LearnBiz, the podcast, where we share an entrepreneur's journey and allow you to obtain insight into their path to success. We're here to educate other entrepreneurs about the ins and outs of running a small business, and we will provide you with tips and resources that can help you along your entrepreneurial journey.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, Karin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So first, I want to go ahead and dive into your story, starting by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Great. My name is Karin Davis-Thompson. I am an adoptive mom, a former foster parent. Been married for almost 24 years. Lover of God. Been going to the same church my whole life. I was only away while I was at school. Came right back. A Tampa native. I've lived all my life. Communications is what I do. I love words, telling the stories of others. It excites me. I could do it all day. And it's a part of how I started my business. I have a nonprofit that I started with my sisters called Sisters Empowering Women. I'm sure we'll get into what that's all about, as well as the for-profit arm In My Shoes, where we have a podcast, a blog, and a shop with things that we use to encourage women of color to tell their own story.
So I love the In My Shoes. So I'm
Yes.
going to start with that. Tell us a little bit about the startup of that podcast and the whole story behind In My Shoes.
Sure. So it started as a blog, as you might imagine, because I love to write. I am the mother of a special needs child, and sometimes you can feel like you're on an island when you're going through that. She has multiple diagnoses. And so I was looking for a support group to just be able to commune with some people who were going through some of the same things. And even when I would go to workshops, educational workshops, support groups, I was almost always the only person of color, not just Black person, the only person of color. And so I thought, wow, but these women, these men, they understand what I'm going through. And so, one day it was my turn to share, and I did what I was going through, what I was frustrated about. And one of the moms went up to the moderator, concerned about what I said or how I said it. And I thought, really, we're going to do the angry Black woman thing at a support group meeting?
Right.
So what I thought was a safe space, I found out very quickly was not. And so I needed to create my own. And I started blogging. And then I thought, you know what? Somebody has to be bold enough to say these things out loud. And if I'm the only person of color at these meetings, it means that there's an entire community of people suffering in silence. And so then I started podcasting about it and quickly realized through some feedback that, yes, this is my journey. This is my walk, and you don't understand because you're not walking in my shoes. That's where the name comes from. So I decided that with that podcast, I would be able to create that safe space that I should have been given, that I didn't have. I wanted to make that platform a safe space for other women to tell their story.
And I love the way that you took a passion, which was blogging, writing, communications, and rolled it right into something that would lead you to some other passions. So tell us about your other business, because you're a dual entrepreneur.
I am. So we have the nonprofit, which actually we started first, but my sisters and I were doing this as we worked full-time jobs. And so we would kind of start and stop. My children were smaller. And that started because as a foster parent, I think I was talking with a caseworker. I may have still been a foster parent at the time. And It was like prom season or something. And I said, well, if you're in a group home, where do you get your dress from? And she said, oh, well, I just had a girl who was a senior and she just borrowed my dress. And I thought, really? Like other people get to go to a store, they choose a dress, and you just got to wear whatever somebody has, 4 or 5 years old. And so I thought, just because you're in foster care, you're low income, you still want to look nice and be able to have choices like your classmates. And so we started with what we call Gowns for Girls. And we had a donation. Actually, we had a bridal shop in this area go out of business. And they donated, I'm talking hundreds of gowns to us. And so we have multiple sizes, colors, designs that they can choose from. And then from there, we started working with some of the girls, mentoring them, helping them not to be ashamed of the story they have to tell. If you were able to make it growing up in a group home, That's a
Right.
story. If you're able
Yeah.
to persevere and become, there are a lot of kids who are still first generational going to college, right?
Right.
So just because you started from humble beginnings doesn't mean that that isn't important to share, and that they shouldn't be ashamed of that. So we started working with the girls and growing the program from there.
And it's beautiful that you were able to work with foster children. Like, what motivated you to go down that route?
So it's funny for me. I never really felt the need to be pregnant. I know people thought I was weird, like the things people have said to me over the years. But I did tell my husband, we had a very, very pointed discussion. If you're looking for a biological kid, I may not be the chick for you because I can't promise that I'm going to do that. I knew that my
Right.
mother didn't get pregnant easily. My sister did not. And we felt like fostering was a calling for us. In Florida, especially when we started, more than 50% of the children in care were African American, which
Right.
was just a really sad statistic for us. And so if we could make a home for some children who needed a home, and we didn't care how our family grew, then we felt that
Right.
that was the way to go. So that's how we started in foster care.
Now you're taking your love for supporting children, you're taking your
Mhm.
love for sharing, providing a safe space for women. What were some of the early things that got you into business, period? Like being an entrepreneur, how'd you get there?
I saw it a lot with my father. He really had that entrepreneurial spirit, but not in the traditional sense. He wanted it to also be a way to help others. And so,
Right.
for example, the foster care agency that we were licensed through was one that my church founded years ago. My
Right.
father became the pastor after my grandfather passed away. And so he wanted to mesh those two things together. And that's kind of what I grew up seeing. And so it's what I wanted to do. If there was a way for me to take my passion, help others, and turn it into a business, it was the
Right.
best of both worlds for me.
When you think about your process in starting a business and going through this whole journey, what were some lessons that you learned along the way?
I think for me, it was always remembering that there was always going to be a struggle with trying to figure out how to manage all the different parts of what make me who I am as a person. I'm a
Right.
mom, I'm a wife, I'm the minister of music at a church. I am, an entrepreneur, I'm all of those things. And so figuring out how to balance that and not lose sight of me, like, I can't pour into others if my cup is empty. So I had to figure out a
Right.
way to get all that stuff to work in concert. It's been a little easier as my children have gotten older, although older children still need a mama.
Yes.
And then, of course, I have a
Yes.
special needs child. So, how do you figure out how to make all of that work? And if it
Right.
meant I had to take a little longer to get to the next step in the business, then that's what I needed to do so that I was able to make sure that I was giving my best to all of the different parts that make me who I am. Because all of that is what makes me, all of it, when I think about in my shoes, I think about the nonprofit, it's me. You know what I'm saying? It's like all
Right.
of it are things that are important to me. So it's all a part of who I am.
When you think about all of this and your experience, what would you share with someone just getting started that says, you know what, I want to start either a for profit or even a nonprofit organization?
I think it's important to start with your research. Even when I started the podcast, I did a lot of research on platforms. How did I want this thing to look? What did I want it to sound like? So research is key. I think once you get that part down, I think it's getting out of your own way. A lot of
Yes.
times we are in our own way. We can be our worst critic.
True.
And I hear people say just start, and a lot of people take that to mean, yeah, but I don't want to just put junk out there. That's not what people mean. But
Right.
you're always going to be able to find something that you could have done better, right? And so if you
True.
spend all your time doing that, you're never going to move. And
Right.
so doing the research and knowing that there's a point where you can research something to death. I've researched it. I know what I need to do, and now I just need to go forth and start this thing. And be patient. Give it time. Stay true to who you are and what your mission is for the business that you've started, because it's
Right.
easy to look at what other people are doing and then you're off on a tangent. And so figuring out what's best for you as an entrepreneur, what you started this business for, and what it means to you, and walking in that truth, no matter what other people are doing.
Amen. You preaching today. So tell us, how did the pandemic impact your business in terms of both the nonprofit and for profit?
I think it was a little harder for us in the nonprofit space. Obviously, there was no prom and homecoming.
Right.
Meeting with the girls in person was hard. and a lot of kids virtual learning and virtual meetings. Like if you got to learn virtually all day, you don't want to then go to a virtual mentor meeting, right?
Right.
So finding a way to still help some of the children that were part of our program, we had to figure that part out. For the for-profit, actually, especially the podcast, it actually helps me to grow my thinking. I kind of was thinking small. I was thinking, it's going to be me, my girlfriends talking about issues of the day that impacted women of color and what it meant for us. And it really forced me to push past that. Hey, I can talk to women directly and they can tell me their story, right? And so as a result, I've had the chance to talk to women that I don't think I ever would have been brave enough to reach out to. Breonna Taylor's mom I've spoken to.
Yeah.
I've had Dr. Robin DeAngelo on. She's going to be on again for the second time. She wrote White Fragility, and now she has a new book out. I've spoken to some people. It was just really fun. Like, you don't see a lot of women on these whole reality shows, but I don't know if you ever watched Doubling Down with the Doricos, but the mom from that show, they've got like 16 kids or something crazy. Like, you don't see a lot of us in those shows. And what was it like for them to start that? I've had the chance to talk to women who've had to be the victims of police brutality, because sometimes I think we think that happens to just our Black males. And so it just gave me a chance to broaden my scope and to really think a little bit larger when it came to the podcast.
That's truly amazing, Karin. And it's great to hear that you've been able to do so much with your passions and still be able to, solidify your place as an entrepreneur. Tell folks how they can reach you.
Sure. So you can find us. In My Shoes is on Instagram, but it's just the letter N. So it's the letter N_my_shoes. On Facebook, it's In My Shoes, and it's actually the word. So In My Shoes, In My Shoes. The nonprofit Sisters Empowering Women is also on Facebook. And of course, our website has all the information you can find there. It's inmyshoestoday.com. And everything from the podcast to blog posts to our store, you can find on our website.
Thank you so much, Karin. And lastly, I know that you have some great things coming up for your kids that you're working with and for the nonprofit as well as your for-profit. Tell us how we can support your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So we do have a shop, as I mentioned. We have journals there. I have a self-care workbook that I started with because self-care was something that I neglected, and I know a lot of women do it. And so anything that you purchase from the store, we have book bags that have the likeness of this cute Black girl. And one of them, she's holding a book and it's got the word Wright on it, which feeds my soul. I love a word. So we gave some of those away to some of the girls in our program, and they were over the moon. We worked with girls who are seniors in high school because they're beginning to make those life-changing decisions at that point. And so we're working with a local high school. We're providing meals for Thanksgiving as well as Christmas and gifts for some who've fallen on hard times. So anything you buy from the shop, all of the proceeds go to the nonprofit. Obviously on the website, if you just want to make a straight donation, you can do that, and they're all tax deductible. We are a 501c3. Of course, anybody who wants to subscribe and listen to the podcast, we're always excited about that. And just telling others about what we're doing so that we can spread the word. We want to touch as many people as we can, help as many people as we can. And so those are some ways that you can help us out. And anything that you want to know about how you can help us, you can definitely find on our website.
And we'll be sure to include your information in the description to this video. Karin, it was an absolute pleasure having you on our podcast today. Thank you again, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated it.
Absolutely.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.